Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving right into the actual mechanics of power and survival. We've got some fascinating, highly detailed reports to unpack about exactly how former President Donald Trump manages severe security threats. We're going to map out this multi-layered defense strategy, literally moving from immediate physical life or death dangers all the way out to complex domestic political maneuvers. So let's just dive right in. We're starting off with a pretty stark image. These chilling words were prominently displayed on signs at the Supreme Leader's funeral in Tehran. Now, this isn't just abstract political bluster, right? The reports emphasize that this is a concrete, viable, and highly specific threat landscape. Basically, the danger is very, very active. Which, leads us to a really compelling question. How exactly does a high-profile figure manage active international assassination plots while simultaneously navigating domestic political battlegrounds? Well, the reports break this down into three distinct, concentric rings of security. You've got physical defense, rhetorical deterrence, and domestic legislation. Let's step into that very first ring. So the absolute core of this first ring, physical defense, is threat identification. The alleged orchestrator here is the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. But here's what's truly fascinating: the origin of the intelligence. It was actually Israeli intelligence that directly flagged this specific IRGC threat to the U.S. military. And that cross-national warning, it triggered an immediate, intense, and highly coordinated physical response. Just look at the sheer speed of this response. It is a crazy compressed, tense timeline. At 0 hours, the intelligence alert hits. Within just 24 hours, there's a sudden, completely unscheduled departure from Turkey. And by hour 48, a secretive flight is bound for the UK. The operational secrecy was actually so strict that the Secret Service advised a precautionary aircraft swap. And get this, reporters on board were instructed to keep their window blinds completely shut just to mask their movements. To manage this active threat, some tough tactical choices had to be made in the air. The newer, highly publicized jet, which was a Qatari-donated Boeing 747, was abruptly abandoned. Instead, they swapped to the older Air Force One. Why do that? Well, because the older aircraft is actually equipped with a full suite of heavy defensive upgrades, specifically an advanced missile defense system. In a moment of crisis, function entirely over rote form. This whole strategy is perfectly encapsulated by White House spokesperson Stephen Chong. He stated, "We use every tool at our disposal, including distraction and misdirection, to address those threats." And honestly, that is the essence of the first concentric circle. Relying on tactical physical evasion, totally unpredictable movements, and absolute operational secrecy. Okay, moving outward to circle 2, rhetorical deterrence. Because physical evasion is really only the inner ring, right? Moving to the next layer, the strategy completely shifts. Instead of just hiding from a threat, the tactic here is to broadcast a massive counter-threat. We see this highly aggressive, very public communication being used to build a psychological shield. Take this direct Truth Social post, for example. The United States has stated to them in no uncertain terms that the ceasefire is over. This is unvarnished public confrontation. By broadcasting this, traditional diplomatic avenues are intentionally cut off, and it signals an immediate shift to an aggressive footing. And the specifics of this aggressive footing? They're severe. We're talking declarations broadcasting that 1,000 missiles were locked and loaded, that the U.S. military was ready, willing, and able, with standing orders to decimate and destroy, all within a specific one-year operational window. According to the reports, this isn't framed just as political bluster. It's a deliberate, high-stakes psychological deterrent aimed right at the IRGC, basically warning that any attack would result in absolute devastation. And that brings us to Circle 3, domestic and political security. Now, the strategy pivots to something completely different. We move from international missile defense straight into domestic politics. Why does this matter to the broader threat picture? Because in this framework, domestic vulnerabilities are treated with the exact same strategic intensity as foreign adversaries. Look at how these political levers are actually pulled. In a really surprising strategic maneuver, Trump publicly refused to sign a fully approved bipartisan housing bill. He didn't even oppose the housing bill itself. Instead, he weaponized it. He used it as pure leverage to force the Senate's hand on a completely different piece of legislation focused entirely on election security. And the legislation demanded in exchange? That was the Save America Act. The source outlines that it demands 3 specific requirements. Step 1, requiring voter ID. Step 2, mandating proof of citizenship. And Step 3, eliminating mail-in ballots. This acts as kind of the ultimate tool to secure his domestic political landscape. From this specific perspective, unsecured elections are viewed as internal systemic threats. They are dangers to political survival that are treated with the same urgency as external threats to physical survival. To really grasp the political weight behind this domestic strategy, you have to look at the polling. Reports indicate the Save America Act enjoys a massive 97% approval within the Republican Party. I mean, 97%. That is huge. This staggering figure is used to validate the necessity of this maneuver among his base. It's essentially a massive show of political force designed to heavily fortify that third circle of security. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to step back and look at the whole picture with us. From scrambling secret flights and relying on missile defense systems, to broadcasting absolute military destruction online, to holding up bipartisan legislation just to force through election laws, it all leaves us with an incredibly compelling question. In today's hyperpolarized world, are physical survival, rhetorical warfare, and domestic political defense now completely indistinguishable from one another? It's a fascinating look at the modern mechanics of power, and it absolutely changes how we view every single move a leader makes.